Most women lose up to 20% of their bone density in the first 5 to 7 years after menopause. And yet, when we talk about bone health, most of the advice still focuses on just taking a medication or making sure there's enough calcium supplementation. But calcium is not actually the main driver of bone strength. One of the most important factors influencing your bones is estrogen. And today I want to explain why estrogen plays such a critical role in bone health, especially after 40, and what you can do to support your bones naturally as your hormone levels change. My name is Mary Sheila Gonnella. I'm a board-certified holistic nutritionist and Ayurvedic educator. And for nearly 2 decades, I've been helping my clients understand how nutrition, hormones, and daily rhythms influence long-term health, including bone health. Now, I became very interested in bone health early on in my career when people would come to see me with their supplements in tow, and they would be often taking a lot of calcium. And then a few years later, also a lot of vitamin D. And then I was sitting in a conference or a training with an herbalist, and he looked at the wall and he said, yeah, people are taking all this calcium. It's like drywall. And I was like, oh my gosh. You're right. People are taking a lot of it, and calling it drywall was sort of a little bit frightening to me. And then also kind of learning more also about cardiovascular health and calcifications. And I was just wondering, gosh, is the calcium going where it needs to go? Is that the only thing people can do for their bones? And we know that there's a lot more we can do, and there's other ways we can think about it. And we don't always think about bone as living tissue. Your bones are constantly breaking down and rebuilding in a process called bone remodeling. Hormones help regulate that process, and estrogen is one of the most important of those hormones. And when you think about your hormones, it's helpful to think of them as a team, a whole team, right? I like to call them they're your own personal team of first responders. So in this series of bone health videos that I'm making, I'm going to go through 5 essential hormones, and I'll tell you a little bit later in the video how you can learn more right away. And also, every video is going to have things that you can do to support that particular hormone. And that's the thing when it comes to something like bone health or changing anything to age with more vitality, with more health, so that our health span can meet our lifespan, and to just age with strength and, the way that we want to age, right? The way that we want to age. We do not want to be frail, older men and women, right? We want to be strong and healthy as long as possible, right? I mean, things are going to break down, yes, but we want to be as strong as we can. So let's talk more about estrogen and what estrogen does for your bones, especially in this video. So estrogen helps regulate cells called osteoclasts, which are responsible for breaking down bone. When estrogen levels are healthy, there is a balance between bone breakdown and bone rebuilding. Your bones stay strong because these two processes stay in rhythm. But when estrogen declines, which is what happens when we go through perimenopause and menopause, that balance shifts. Bone breakdown begins to happen faster than bone rebuilding. This is one of the reasons that many women experience accelerated bone loss during the early years of menopause. When estrogen levels drop, osteoclasts, that activity increases. So the breaking down increases, and the building up can't meet that same level of increase. So that means your bones begin to release minerals faster than they are replaced. And that's why bone density can decline fairly quickly in the first several years after menopause. And this is also why bone health isn't just about calcium. It's about hormone signaling and metabolic balance. And now I want to share 2 ways to support bone health during these changes of estrogen that we all naturally go through. The good news is there are several things you can do to support your bones, even as our estrogen levels change. The first is to include phytoestrogenic rich foods in your diet. These plant compounds can gently interact with estrogen receptors in the body. This includes things like flax seeds and legumes and fermented soy foods like tempeh or miso. These foods don't replace estrogen, but they can help support the body's hormone signaling. Now, I know that soy is often talked about as a great phytoestrogenic food, and it really is. It's one of the highest with those isoflavonoids, but all beans have some of those phytoestrogens, as do the flax seeds and other seeds. If you focus on eating beans, then you're getting protein from various sources. You're getting great fiber. You're getting those phytoestrogens. And the fiber is helping you eliminate toxins. The fiber is feeding the microbiome, which can also be really beneficial to the body in general. So just a little shout out to beans. The second is to prioritize weight-bearing and resistance exercise. Bones respond to mechanical stress. When muscles pull against bones during strength training or resistance work, the body receives a signal to build and maintain bone tissue. So we build muscle and bone at the same time. This includes strength training with weights, resistance bands, yoga, and walking and hiking. Maintaining muscle strength becomes incredibly important to us as we age. It's one of the most powerful ways to support long-term mobility and independence. And let me just say, like, most women didn't always watch their mothers or grandmothers lift weights and exercise. It was sort of a man's sport, a man's thing to do. So we're really reclaiming our strength, I think, right now, and realizing how important it is. So we are not frail older women or frail men. We are strong as long as we can be strong so that we can live independently and have good mobility, right? We are meant to move. Bone health is influenced by many different factors, not just estrogen, but estrogen is a piece of the puzzle. In fact, there are 5 key hormones that influence whether your bones get stronger or weaker as you age. And I've put them together in a free guide called The 5 Hormones That Influence Bone Strength After 40. It explains these hormones and practical steps, just like I shared today, that you can take to support them through nutrition and daily habits. You can download the guide below. And if this topic interests you, make sure to subscribe because I'll be sharing the other hormones and other things you can do for bone health in upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.